Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com's review of Bandai's 160DX YF25 Prophecy toy. This is pretty much the same toy as a Bandai DX VF25 renewal toy, with some very minor differences that I will go into in a little bit here. The toy was released in June of 2014. It was 1,400 yen, which is the same price point as the VF25 toys. Comes with a display stand and all the adapters to fit that display stand to any of the modes. Unlike the VF25 toys, this display stand is just black. It is the same display stand that you would get with a VF171 toy, and that is because the YF25 Prophecy is a new UN Spacey vehicle. You can see it on the wing, instead of an SMS vehicle. And that is why you get the new UN Spacey display stand instead of the SMS display stand. This vehicle was in the movie, the Macross Frontier movies, just as a backdrop vehicle. It also has made appearances in Macross the Ride, or so I am told. It's obviously a pretty unique color scheme, kind of looks like a trainer, and as a prototype that kind of makes sense. You also get in the box 3 sets of fixed posed hands, again standard for VF25 releases, a purple gun, standard to the VF25 releases, although some of them were a blackish chrome color. You also get 2 pilot figures, unlike the typical 1 pilot figure. I'll show you those closer in just a moment. You get replacement head lasers. The ones on the toy are PVC, so they're bendy, which I guess is safer for shipping. And the ones in the display stand container are ABS, so they are much more solid and stiff and less likely to bend. You also get an instruction manual. There are no stickers because all of the painted detail you should need is already on the toy. I'm not going to chronicle transformation in this video. I've already done that in other renewal VF25 reviews, and this toy does not change the transformation at all. I also have another video that shows you what Bandai changed when going from the original VF25 toy they were sold to their renewal versions, which is pretty much everything. Very good video to watch if you are just getting into collecting VF25 toys. I've also reviewed pretty much every VF25 release on its own. So if you're curious about the VF25 toys, definitely check out those videos. There'll be a lot of commonalities here between this toy and those toys. Let's go into the attributes of this toy, which again are very much the same as the VF25 renewal toys. That is, you get integrated landing gears. The front has an articulated tow bar. On mine there is a little bit of a production issue in that the gear doors just never really want to stay together. With enough massaging I can pinch them. The gun stays on without any separate attachment pieces. It just fits between the forearms and fits in quite securely. The rear landing gears really lock into place in the forward position, as you can hear there. There's plastic wheels that they spin freely on the toy there. Everything closes up nice and tight, again with the exception of my front landing gear doors, which have a production issue to them. You have an opening canopy. This is one of the big differences. I'll get into that in just a moment. You also get removable intake covers that show turbine detail. Some of the VF25 toys have some issues with this where that's like white or green. Obviously doesn't look very good. On the YF25 it does look pretty nice. You also have the ability to close the wings or open them way forward to your liking. So the YF25 Prophecy isn't just a simple repaint. It's got a different head unit on it, and you can see there's a clear window there with some detail inside. It's all very nicely done. Obviously it's got its own unique paint scheme, but as you can see here, there's also a different shape to the canopy. This bar in the back swings back in the loop. This one comes straight up and it's more of a bubble. And that it allows it to be a 2-seat vehicle. And not just a 2-seat vehicle, but a 2-seat vehicle for fully sized pilot figures. So that is very nicely done. In the past, the original VF25 toys, they have a neat little feature that allows you to remove a cover. This is the cover here. And then push back a seat. But while you could fit the full-size pilot in the front, no problem, and you actually had a little extra room, you could not put a full-size pilot in the back. It was close, but it wouldn't quite work for you. So what they did with the YF25 toy is they moved the seat just a teeny bit forward, so you don't have that much room for the pilot to squeeze forward. And instead of having that cover gimmick, they have simply molded a seat onto the back plate, which gives the back pilot just a little bit more room, and he fits in just fine. So that's the big mold difference at the front, and it's not anything around the cockpit. It's really just in the canopy and in the cockpit. Alright, so here again is a close-up of the new head with the detail you can see from above the craft. That's very nicely done. Also, speaking of nice paint, up here by the landing gear, little arrow there with a little lever, all very nicely done. The paint on this toy, very good, very impressive, with the exception of these diamonds with nuns painted in the middle. It's uniformly, wherever that is, it is very difficult to make out what is painted in the middle of that. So that is definitely a little bit blurry. Could be worse, but certainly we've seen Bandai do a little bit better than that. Overall, whether or not you like the paint scheme is going to be obviously subjective. It's up to you. There are some metal parts where the white and the orange don't perfectly match, or where you'll end up seeing a little white edge on the shoulders here. But for the most part, that's pretty minor and easily overlooked in person. Alright, here we have Gerwalk mode. Now the gun is the same as the V2 VF25 gun, where you can pull down the handle, pull it forward, and bring back this piece here to get it into the Battroid mode style weapon. The hand has a little peg in it. There is a little groove in the handle, so you can just bring that handle into that groove, apply pressure, close up the hand, and you should get a pretty decent grip on it. As you can see, there's a ball joint that goes into the socket in the arm, and there you have it. So does a decent job holding the gun, like I said. I do have one loose joint already on this toy at the shoulder here. Generally with these loose joints, you can kind of figure out a position where they're not going to be so bad. There's a little sticky point for you somewhere, but that is obviously a little bit of a bummer there. Okay, so now spinning the toy around, these V2 VF25 toys have a support that holds up the back of the toy. So maybe someday we'll see those sweet Paladin parts that are in Macross the Ride. Although I probably wouldn't hold my breath, as it doesn't seem like this particular paint scheme has sold particularly well. The feet do a lot, and that allows you to have a lot of fun in this mode. It certainly poses well in this mode. But you also do have a display stand. So here we are now using that display stand, which is nice because it does allow you to pose the feet a little bit differently, but it's also a very basic display stand that doesn't pivot or angle in any way, so you do kind of get stuck with a fairly static looking pose at this same angle no matter what you want to do. While I am discussing the toy here, let's look at this shield. It does have the same opening mechanism in the front that allows you to store the dagger that comes with the toy in the shield, which wasn't something you could do on the original VF25 toys. Alright, let's move on to Battroid mode. Here is the toy in Battroid mode on the stand. Now the stand itself doesn't really let you do anything. In fact, it inhibits the waist articulation. Basically makes it so that waist joint does not work at all. From the side of the toy, you can see how the more bulbous canopy is not quite as shielded by this gray cover here. So that is sort of an issue that's made worse by the YF25 design from the renewal VF25. But otherwise, that is it for the display stand. Obviously, you can do whatever you want with the legs. You got a little clearance from the ground, and it's quite sturdy. But it's not a fancy display stand by any means. Alright, so what makes this toy really special is the new head sculpt. It's asymmetrical, so you've got one little antenna that's shorter than the other. As with the other VF25 toys, you can kind of pivot those outward or independently bend one back or forward. You can see that there's a lot of nice detail inside this blue clear plastic piece, so that's very nice. As with all other VF25 heads, it's on a ball joint, so you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And all in all, I found it pretty impressive. Articulation is exactly the same as it is with all VF25 toys. As I said, there's been no really notable improvements of any kind, just a slight resculpting of a couple pieces, and obviously a unique paint pattern. So as I've already mentioned, heads on a ball joint, swivels, pivots, does whatever you want. You have a joint at the shoulder, which allows you to rotate all the way around. You also have a pivot point at the shoulder, which allows you to come straight out. There's a double jointed elbow and a swivel at the bicep. All very good things. As I showed you in Gerwalk mode, ball jointed hands that swivel and pivot and can be pulled out and replaced with fixed posed hands. There is a swivel joint at the waist. There is a Gerwalk joint, as there must be. There is a swivel at the leg, but make sure you extend the leg downward before you use it. You have that far of motion back. Make sure your kneecap is out if you're going to swing the leg forward so you don't scratch any paint. Then you have a ball jointed ankle, which goes out and up and down. So very good things all around. You can have a lot of fun posing these Renewal VF25 toys, and the YF25 is no different. In conclusion, Renewal VF25 toys are awesome. The YF25 toy is essentially another one of them. Very good toy. If it appeals to you, I highly recommend it. If you are more into the Hero Valks, all the other Renewal VF25 toys are definitely worth shopping for. Check out my full review on anymoon.com, and as always, thanks for watching.